So Roy, thank you very much for being with us today.
It's great to be here.
A few minutes ago, you talked about legacy when you were defining this movie. I would like you to elaborate on this. Why is legacy the theme of Strange World?
Well, legacy, it really has to do with things that come beyond us or are after us. And it really was an idea that Don Hall, the director, had. It was really important for him to explore the idea of what he was going to be leaving as a legacy to his children. And not just on a personal basis, but on a global basis. And so it really is about what are we going to leave generations beyond us.
Mm-hmm. Speaking about legacy, Disney is about to turn 100 next year.
Exactly.
What does this film add to Disney's legacy? I mean, how does this film embrace the Disney universe? I would say?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of things about this film that tie right into Walt Disney's legacy. To a certain degree, I think the warmth and comedy of this film is right up the alley of Disney. It's just, it is a Disney film. But I do think also that we are having so much fun with exploring this new world. And that's where I think Walt Disney would have just been so proud of us, because it is a world that no one has ever seen. And it is a world for the big screen. And I think it's pushing animation to a higher level.
You mentioned the big screen. Is it a different process working for the big screen? Because Disney is now making films and series for the big and small screen.
Right, exactly.
At the same time, do you work differently if it's for the big screen?
I think when you're working for a big screen film, you want to really, from a cinematographic standpoint, explore what are the big images that are going to kind of resonate with your audience visually. I think it's a slightly different visual medium. I think that the smaller screen is more about character and focus, and I think that the bigger screen is about world and breadth. You know, one of our sets in the film is if you measured it in the computer, it's like 3 kilometers long. There's a chase scene that is just a blast, and that's perfect for the big screen. At the same time, it will be wonderful on the small screen, but on the big screen, it will be magic.
Yeah. The dynamics between the big screen and the small screen changed with the pandemic. I would like you to tell us how the pandemic affected the process of making this film.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because definitely once the pandemic started, we needed to change our system of making films, our way of making films. And fortunately, Raya and the Last Dragon and Encanto were in production before Strange World. So I was able to learn a lot watching them. So obviously, having meetings on Zoom, which is an amazing platform that allows us all to be in the same room at one time and see one another. But there are also incredible applications that allowed us to be all together in an editorial session and have the edit bay, the Avid, which is what our tool is, play simultaneously to all people in the room. And we even got to the point where we could have 100 people watching something on the screen. And communication was actually pretty good. What I miss is the interaction in the office. You really had to be thoughtful in terms of how to always give context for why decisions were going. It's easy when you're in the room and you're walking across and you see someone and you just say, hey, I just want to let you know, da-da-da-da. You always had to think, I got to make sure that they know that this is the issue that they need to talk about.
We were talking about legacy and children. Children from the time when you made the Hunchback of Notre Dame were very different. Their attention span maybe was wider than now.
Interesting.
Do you think that the process of making films has changed, attending to that change in the audience?
Oh, I think over the years, the storytelling in film has changed from or from decade to decade, frankly. And in animation, the way they would tell stories with Snow White, to the way they would tell stories with Bambi, to the way that they told stories with Lady and the Tramp, to the way they told stories with Jungle Book. Each one of those decades, you see different advances in technology, and also differences in the rhythm of storytelling. I think that has to do with technology, it has to do with the artists, and I do think it has to do with the zeitgeist of the population. So one of the things that I love about working in animation is that it's never the same. I started off in hand-drawn animation, went then with Treasure Planet, I did 50-50, hand-drawn and CG, and then into Tangled with, all CG. And I have to say, I think storytelling in CG is so incredible because there's so much nuance you can get, and you can really get a sense of peril and fun with CG. I love hand-drawn, but I really, really love working in CG.
So you're not thinking about duration of the films or when to include some gags attending to this change in the children now?
Well, it's interesting. I do think that we as artists progress with society, right? And you have to remember, these films it takes 4 years to make a film. So you can start off with a theme, and that theme has to be universal. The way the story is told can always change. And again, like I look at technology, we do much faster cuts now in our storytelling than we could have done back in the day when I started. In the day that I started, you would cut film with a razor blade and then literally put it together with a piece of tape. Same thing with sound. Now it's digital, and you can sit down and you can see the cut, simultaneously. Also, you have to remember, we have many generations working on these films. I have, Gen Zs all the way up to baby boomers working on this film, I being the baby boomer. And so there's a lot of influence. We're all storytellers. I mean, whether you're doing animation or tech animation or you're doing art direction or you're doing whatever you're doing, lighting, it's all about surfacing the story. And that story evolves with the artists.
Okay, right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.